So what's up, everyone? It's your girl Beauty87 here, aka Grace, and it's about that time again. So today we're gonna get into if I could only keep 10 palettes. This video idea was started by Annette's Makeup Corner. I'm thinking like 2020, and so for the last couple of years I've been doing this tag. So I did the last one in March of last year, so I'm like overdue technically because that was over a year ago. So I figured I should go ahead and sit down and film this. So I have a mixture of indie brands, YouTuber collabs, affordable and high-end or luxury palettes. So I figured we'd go ahead and start off with my influencer collabs, then we'll get into my more affordable stuff. I'll do the luxury stuff and I'll end with indie because I have the most indie stuff, of course. I'm really into the indie makeup right now, especially when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. And since we talking about palettes, y'all know it's about to be a long one. So how I do mine is I originally, when I first had this concept going, I thought of it like, you know, the two different houses, because if you all don't know, I film here at my grandmother's house and I only come here on the weekends to film and like make sure the house is taken care of, and I actually live somewhere else. So what I do is I count 10 for this house since I have to stay here on the weekends when I do the most makeup content, and then I counted 10 for my house, like, you know, as an everyday makeup wear would have. So that's how you're gonna see 20 palettes instead of 10. That's what I've always done it since this tag has started. So I was like, ain't no stopping us now, we just gonna keep going. So let's get started with these indie brands. So I have the Shroud and what's it, Batty Bean. It's freaking Bats palettes. I love this color story. This is definitely a color story I can get down with and absolutely love with. Y'all know I live for a shade like this and a shade like this to put on the lid, or put this one on the lid, this one in the outer V, this one in the crease, and this one in the inner corner or something. So this whole color story is just, I'm all about it. Every tone in here is definitely a tone that I would use quite frequently. I've used this palette quite a few times on Instagram, and I think I've done like looks with it when I've come on camera to make YouTube videos with you. Also, I just love the color story in this palette. I definitely don't know what I would do if I didn't have this palette. So if I had to keep 10, I would definitely be keeping that one. Now next, I feel like y'all knew this one was gonna be in here. Like, it's just a requirement. I mean, the scarf for this palette is literally behind me in this video. So y'all know the Hummingbird Palette is gonna be in here for Tina the Fancy Face. Y'all don't know how long I have been waiting for somebody to give Tina her just due with this palette. So I mean, look at my mirror. It's dirt. Mine is dirty because it is loved. Okay, don't look at the dip in Fancy itself. This palette is loved. Surprisingly, the orange has a bigger dip than the purple, which is shocking to me. But you know, I think I've used the orange a lot of times just as an inner corner shade, or like a little peek in the inner corner of the eye to, you know, wake it up, if you will. So I love this palette. Like, Tina did all that. I recently used this light blue shade along with some other stuff. I just think this is a gorgeous palette, and Tina did an excellent job. Like, everything in this palette is just so colorful and lovely, and I feel like it definitely speaks to who Tina is, because Tina loves color, and so do I. So I was living for this palette, and the fact that it was Tina's. And Odin's Eye has amazing quality, so I was just like, yes, yes, 1,000 times less, give it all to me. Oh, y'all, palettes are poking me in the butt. This is not cute. Next, I have Annette's Makeup Corner and Menagerie Cosmetics. It was hard for me to pick between her Odin's Eye and Menagerie, but I ended up picking Menagerie because at the end of the day, it's kind of like summertime right now, and I love color. Plus, I have some other palettes that have grunge in them that will make up for the fact that I didn't pick her Giant Wolves palette, so I picked this one instead. I still feel like it has some grunge shades, like it has this grunge shade, and then you have like this deeper purple. So I really love the color story of this palette in particular a little bit more for summer, and since we're in summer now, that helped with me picking. Although, you know, some palettes I was just like, I'm gonna wear them year round, I don't care. Like the Batty Bean one, I'm like, I'm wearing it year round, I don't care. But I really love the color story of this one, and picking between Annette's collabs, I just decided that the Menagerie one was the one for me. Okay, we're almost down to the end of the collab, but y'all know this had to be in here, right? The one and only Jackie Aina and ABH palette. This one is dirty and well loved too. Like, look how gross my mirror is. Look how gross my palette is. It's because it is well loved. As you can see, the shade Zam actually has a dip in it. Y'all know I don't usually use shades like that. My favorite shade in here, though, I'm sorry, it's Wicked Leaves. Like, this red is just so amazing. I know a lot of people like, I think it's Dwarless, but Wicked Leaves is my shade up in here, okay? I love this palette. It pairs great with the first Mega Mothership palette that she came out with, Celestial Divinity, I believe it's called, because the new one is Celestial Odyssey. But this is just a gorgeous palette on its own. I know I can reach for it and get a quick look and it'll be wonderful. I absolutely love this palette. It is gorgeous and I am here for it. Loving it, and it would not be taken away from my collection. You're gonna have to fight. So the last collab palette I have, and I feel like this one shouldn't be any surprise because I think this is one of my all-time most used eyeshadow palettes. This is the Club Nebula from Angie and Kaleidos. The color story in this, y'all, I mean, it just speaks to my soul. Now, y'all know I'm not really into the shades at the bottom. Like the first 2 rows, I was all about it. I'm like, yes, give it to me. Now, when do I buy it? Where do I buy it? How much is it? It doesn't even matter. I feel like Fry on Futurama when he was selling the iPhone. Shut up and take my money. Like, that's what this palette does for me. I love using this palette. I try not to use it a lot though because I don't want y'all getting mad if you can't get it, and I don't want you on Macari trying to buy it for $77 when I think it was only like 40 something bucks if I remember correctly. I don't remember, but I was tempted to get a backup of it because I like it that much, but I was like, I wanted other people who, you know, actually didn't get it the first go round to get one, so that's why I didn't buy a backup when the second one came up. But I was tempted because I use this palette that much. So this one definitely wasn't going anywhere. The sparkles in it are wonderful. It has my row of blues and greens. It has my row of purples. And then when I'm tempted to do a warm look, I have that dark red and like the nice peachy tones to go with it. So I was here for it and loving it. And I still like to use that palette to this day. So the majority of the influencer palettes I just showed you, a palettes I still like to use to this day. And I use them frequently, even though they don't literally sell any of those palettes, I think, except for Baddie Beans. I think they still sell hers, but the rest of those palettes I just showed, they don't sell any of them. You might be able to find Jackie's palette on Beauty Bay, but I make no promises. Next, we're gonna get into my affordable ones. Now, this brand was bought by Mega Revolution, so I don't know how much more stuff I'm gonna get from them because, you know, if you all saw my video on Chit Chatty Get Ready With Me with the Jacqueline Hill collection, the Luxe Legacy, I told you all about how they thought it was a good idea to tell people in the African American community that they need to go back to Africa just because somebody asked them if they if the Jimi Hendrix collection or the brand was owned by an African American, because, you know. But be that as it may, I'm still picking these BH Cosmetics palettes from when they were actually BH Cosmetics. So I have 2 palettes. I have Blueberry Muffin. Of course, y'all know some blue was going to be in here. Y'all knew a monochromatic blue moment was going to be up in here. Stop playing with me. So this isn't a traditional blue monochromatic palette, but it's still like, it has pops of blue in it and still gives you some neutral tones to go with the blues. So if you're a person who's like into those palettes with a pop of blue, this isn't necessarily for you, but you could probably still get down with it. I love this palette. This was like my favorite BH Cosmetic palette from, I think, 2021 or 2020, one of those years. I believe it was 2020 because I think the one I'm going to talk about next is 2021. But yeah, you could not take this palette from me at all. If you run across it at TJ Maxx or Marshalls, girl, you need to grab it. Or Winters, because I hear in Canada it's Winters, not TJ Maxx or Marshalls. If you see it there, grab it. Don't be buying it from people on Macari for $20 when the palette only costs I think $4.99 at Marshalls. Don't do it. Next, I have the Passion in Paris palette. I love this one as well. These are my type of tones, if you all haven't realized by now. Like, I love these bluish purple moments and occasionally like the little berry moment here at the bottom. So this palette is another one that has great quality, and I'm so sad that they don't exist anymore. If you try to find a website, it doesn't exist. You can only still buy the stuff on Beauty Bay, and I think it's still at Ulta, but that's pretty much it. So I'm waiting to see what's going to happen with this brand, but at the same time, I'm kind of not happy who bought them. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I would definitely keep this palette as well. I didn't keep the avocado one because I have another green palette in mind. It's like a classic green palette from back in the day for one of my favorite indie brands. So you'll see that a little bit later. But next, we have the Cello palette. So I felt like if I had to have like one neutral palette, I wanted it to have a pop of blue in it. I don't know why. I guess I was reminiscent of the like the earlier YouTube days when the pop of blue palette was all the rage. So I got my Cello. Now I did swap out one of the shades in the Tinkerbell palette. I'm gonna start in the Limelight palette for it. So that's where this green came from. It was just another brown, but there's so many browns here, so I feel like we need all those browns. And I was like, I have this brown and I have this orange shade, so I wanted some green incorporated in. So I added green to mine. So technically mine doesn't look the way it used to, but I like the way it looks better like this. Plus I feel like I have a green now to go with this green shimmer and some of these yellow tones, so I'm here for that. But anyway, I would keep this palette just because it has a lot of neutral, like warm, summery-ish type shades. And I still have a few colorful shades from when I want to do a colorful look. So I'm here for it. It's a vibe. And you're not taking my Cello down. I know they don't make Cello anymore. It came out in last spring or last summer's collection. But I was like, I need it. I'm going to have it. Thank you so much. So I did. The last ColourPop palette I have to talk about, I know, right? I got 2 ColourPop palettes, and I did a video on brands I buy and never use. The ColourPop was in it, but these are a couple of the ColourPop palettes I use a lot. I think I have like 2 more that I use pretty frequently. So this is my It's a Mood palette. Again, I did recreate this palette because if you all remember when I ranked all my ColourPop palettes that one time, like a couple of them fell and I had to wait to the sale to buy them, and then my friend bought me a couple of them. So I ended up taking shades out of those, out of the one that had like broke and messed up, and put them in here. So this is what my It's a Mood palette actually looks like. So I took some shades from the Ooh La La, since I had an old Ooh La La and I bought a new one because mine was literally from when they came out with it, and I was like, oh no, this is too old to be put on my eyes, but it looks aesthetically pleasing, and the formula of them actually still works. I mean, I have to work harder because it's older, but you know, they have them on sale for $9 right now, so I might get another one just to add those colors in. But these, some of these are from It's a Mood, some of these are from, sorry, not from It's a Mood, some of these are from Ooh La La, some of these are from It's My Pleasure, and then some of these are from what's the other one, Lie Like You a Lie. And then I think this one mint shade came from Meant to Be when I got rid of, when I took it loose, or from the Or and Out palette, I'm not sure. But this is what mine looks like. It's absolutely stunning. I love this so much better than the original way it was. And I love grungy stuff, but I felt like a little too grungy for me because it's like I want a bright shimmer. I don't mind the grungy mattes, but I want a like, bright shimmer to offset the difference between the stuff. So I wasn't necessarily feeling it wholly, but I feel it like that, and I like it a whole lot more. Okay, now we're gonna get into my high-end and luxury palettes. I only have 3, believe it or not. So y'all know what my favorite neutral tones are, so I feel like you shouldn't be surprised that I picked the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions, what is this, 2 eyeshadow palette. Look at how stunning this is. Like, these are like my rosy tone dreams from heaven. Like, they are just absolutely stunning and gorgeous. The creams work well. The only thing about this is it has more mid-tone shades and not a lot of darker shades for me to deepen up. But I got another palette for that, so you just have to stay tuned for that. But this ain't going nowhere. The shimmers in here are amazing. The shimmers in here alone are reason enough for me to keep it, okay? Those shimmers are fire. The shimmers in the first one were okay. He had a couple duds, but once he got to the formula that he is at now, I'm like, yes, I'm here for it. I can't wait to see what other color stories he's going to come out with. Now I think he just needs to come out with a cool tone smoky one, since he already has like the neutrally brown one and he has the rose tone one. And I feel like it'd be cool for the holidays for him to come out with another eyeshadow palette, because eyeshadow palettes are all the rage. So, I mean, Patrick, honey, you need to get with it and give us some more. You know, I need that. But next, I got a couple of palettes from my favorite brand. I like to come up with amazing palettes every holiday, and throughout the year sprinkle in some duds, and then end the year with great palettes. So y'all should already know I'm talking about Mented Cosmetics, and my smoke session wasn't going anywhere. And y'all knew a green palette was gonna be in here, so it had to be smoke session. I'm sorry, I absolutely love this palette. To this day, this is one of my all-time favorite green palettes. Like, I just love the color story of this. You got the nice little weird, they use these really unique matte shades, and then they give you all these shimmers to go with them. So that's what I really love about this palette. The only thing that sucks is since they only gave you 2 mattes, it's like I feel like you don't have a shade to airbrush in your crease. But I mean, I guess you can take your bronzer and airbrush in your crease if you want to have something like that happen. But I prefer to have tones that match closer to this. But since I own so many eyeshadow palettes, and some of the other eyeshadow palettes you're gonna see will offset that, since I can keep 10 palettes, I feel like it wasn't as big a deal. So this is my green palette I decided to keep with a little bit of neutrals in it. I think that's the first Milk palette I bought. But I think that's the first Milk palette they made, if I remember correctly. Smoke Sessions was the first actual palette as opposed to the stacks. Next, of course, y'all know I wouldn't let my Morte go. Where was it going? It wasn't going anywhere. Thank you. So if I had to keep one, I definitely had to keep this one. Like, and plus, again, the tones in here will go alongside the Smoke Sessions, because I can use these mattes right here and these mattes right here to go with it. So I had already made up my mind that since that one wasn't going to go and my Smoke Sessions wasn't going to go, that they would pair nicely together, because I can use those neutrally bronzy shades along with the reds to make a unique look, and then I can use these other shades to make a unique look. So I'm like, sounds good to me. Yes, give it to me. This palette is stunning. I feel so bad for everyone who didn't get their hands on it that really wanted it. But you know, when Mel come out with some stuff, honey, if it's limited edition, they most likely mean it's limited edition. You got to grab it. You better reach up, grab it, snatch it, whatever you do, honey, you just grab it. So next palette, y'all know I couldn't have this brand not being here. As many palettes that I have bought from this brand in the last, I think, year and a half. I think in 2020 is when I started buying from the brand, the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021. And that is Unearthly Cosmetics. They used to be Alien Cosmetics, which is why this says Alien, but it's Unearthly Cosmetics. This is the palette I use from the brand the most. I just love the color story of this because I love these reds and these pinks with the combination of the greens. I've done at least 2 looks with this in the last month, so I was like, yeah, for sure I'd have to have this palette. And that's how I thought about some of these palettes. I was like, have I used this recently? And if I have, like, did I love the look I made with it? Because just because you use it recently, sometimes you aren't as in love with it as you thought you were gonna be. But every time I pull this out, I love the look I come up with, and I love using like these greens. 2 different greens. Now, I'm not necessarily crazy about this random shade right here, but all the other ones I'm absolutely in love with, and I absolutely love this palette. This was, I think, the 2nd palette I bought from them. The first one I bought was the Poison Apple with the artwork by Serendipity on it. Now, the next 4 palettes you can see. Now, you know what my favorite eyeshadow color is, so I feel like you shouldn't be surprised with the next 4 palettes you see. Okay? I'm warning you now. So, of course, you will not take Ninhydrin away from me. If I could only keep one adept palette, this would be it. I know Plain Jane is pretty. I know House of L is nice. You will not take my Ninhydrin palette from me. This is my all-time favorite palette from the brand. Like, look at all these stunning purple shades in here. Like, and you thought you were going to take this away from me? No, if I had to keep 10 palettes, this would have to be one of them. Even if I just had a colorful rainbow palette that had a row of purples in it to go with this, I have to have this palette. Whenever I do a purple look, if I feel like it's not popping enough or it's not giving enough sparkle or whatever I feel like I need, I will reach for Ninhydrin and put it with it. Because Ninhydrin always makes all my purple looks better. So I have to have this palette. It just has to stay. That's the best Ninhydrin. That's the best purple palette when it comes to shimmers in my personal opinion. And I'm waiting for her to drop Ninhydrin too. So she said it's going to be a Ninhydrin too. I'm just over here in the corner like, wouldn't win. Of his scratching, like, you know, like I need it bad. When is it coming out though? But when? No. The next palette I have is Night Flower from Lethal Cosmetics. I did a video on this recently. Well, I guess it wasn't recently, maybe like 2 months ago I believe this palette came out. But I love this palette. Like, oh my goodness. This is stunning. You have lots of different tones of purple. So you got this purple matte and this purple matte and this purple matte. And then this weirdish grayish purple situation, which I thought was really cool and unique. And then you have this more mauve tone one. So it gave you a lot of good shades. And then you can use a lot of these shimmers, and then you can look like the blue in the inner corner like I did with my look. It's just a really stunning purple palette, and to me it's a unique twist on a purple palette. So that's one reason I want to have it, because I'm like, it's not the traditional tones of purple, but it still has enough purple to work for me. And it kind of gives me Ninhydrin vibes because of the mattes that they chose for it, or at least that grayish purplish matte that they chose. Next one I have is Menagerie's Flight Club. Now, y'all, this is one of my all-time favorite purple palettes. Like, honey, I need it. I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. Like, I was so sad when they got rid of Violet Ink, but since they replaced this with it, I've been fine. Like, I absolutely love this palette. It is stunning. Like, this shade right here, Nocturnal. And it's just, I feel like all the shades in here were just beautifully done. They have good purplish and fuchsia-ish colors to go along with it. And it's just, I don't have words. It's just gorgeous. So, as you see, I really love me some Menagerie, because I got 2 Menagerie palettes in here. The last purple palette I have is the Wine palette from the Happy Hour collection from Glamlight. It's something about this shade right here alone that where I was just like, I can't not have this one in there, because this shade right here I always want to reach for whenever I do a purple look and think about a purple look to do. I want to use this in it, and then it makes me want to just use this palette as a whole. I like the unique shades of color she put in here too. Like, it kind of gives me the Flight Club vibe somewhat, because you have these purplish fuchsia type shades, but then you got the unique matte shade like this and this. So I feel like this offsets like some colors that aren't in the Flight Club one, and I can combine both these palettes together and make a gorgeous look. So I'm here for it. I love it. I absolutely had to have it. And like I said, don't be judging me because I got 4 purple palettes. Y'all know I love purple palettes. So we had to end it off, and I feel like you knew that this brand was going to be in here and that all these palettes were going to be here. So we're going to end it off with Blend Bunny Cosmetics. I have every single palette, and I need to keep every single palette. First off, I'm gonna start off with the newest one, the Dollhouse. The reason I need to keep the Dollhouse is, remember I was talking about how the mid-tone shades are in the Patrick Ta palette? Well, I was okay with that because I knew I was gonna pick this palette to take with me. So as you can see, there's a whole row of pinkish shades that would go with the Patrick Ta one, and then there's a whole row of purple mauve shades if I want to do those tones instead. So for that reason alone, I had to keep this, aside from the fact that this is just a gorgeous palette. And this isn't a traditional neutral palette, but it still has enough neutrals and pops of color to work for someone like, you know, me. I don't know what the air quotes on pop of color was. We clearly see all the color in here, and maybe like 2 different sets of neutral shades. And she put the neutrals on the outside, if you haven't noticed. Like, here's a set of neutrals and here's a set of neutrals, and I feel like the rest in the middle are more like mauve-ish, berryish tones for people like me who prefer those sort of neutrals. So I like how she combined all the neutrals in here to make one cute little situation. I'm here for it. It's a vibe. I'm absolutely loving it, and that's why I had to keep that palette. Now, we all know I had to keep the Surge because it's like, I like my bright neon colors for summertime. And like, look, she gave you a whole row of bright neon colors. And if you put like a base underneath them, or you just put, if you put like a colorful base underneath them or a white base underneath them, they still look fine. Because I've used this shade and this shade with just a white base, and it showed up nicely. And I had people ask me like, what neon is that you have on your eyes? Because if it'll show up on you and they were lighter than I was, of course they're like, it'll show up on me. So I was at work and a girl stopped me to ask me what was on my eyes, just because she thought this palette was that fire. So I love it. And again, I love how she puts everything in the order of a row. So it's like if you're in a rush, you don't have time to come up with an eye look, you can just follow the row and make an eye look. That's another thing I appreciate about Maggie's palettes. If you didn't know, the owner of Limelight Cosmetics' name is Maggie. But yeah, I really just love this palette in particular for the raw neons. This is when she first gave us shimmers, and I appreciate how she took the feedback of people saying that they weren't liking the shimmers as much as they could have, and in the Dollhouse she improved them quite a bit. So the last one, of course, is the original palette that started all the blends palette. Now, I was like my girl Karen Harris. I wasn't buying this palette. I wasn't thinking about this palette. I didn't care. It was just another rainbow palette. I was like, okay, that's cute. She came out with a rainbow palette. Everybody has come out with a rainbow palette. Like, I don't need this. Was I wrong? Absolutely. Did I need it? Absolutely. That's why it's sitting here. So everybody was talking about this palette. My girl Mariah Gold was talking about this palette. My girl Karen Harris was talking about this palette. And then like some of Karen's friends were talking about this palette. And she's like, since all her friends and Bonnie were talking about it, then she got it. So then after she talked about it, and then I saw my girl Mariah Gold with it, I was like, okay, now I need to get this palette. Because everybody just keeps talking about this palette. So I need to know about this palette. And after I bought this one, I bought everyone since. So I'm definitely here for it. I'm definitely excited for it. And I'm so glad to have all these Bling Buddy palettes in my collection, and that's why they ain't going nowhere. If I had to keep 10, it's 3 off the bat that's already just coming with me. They're not going anywhere else. They're gonna stay here with me. Thank you so much. But yeah, so those are the palettes I had. If I could only keep 10, so like 10 of them would stay here where we are now filming, and then 10 of them would go to my house where I actually live. So that's how I did it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. Let me know down below if you own these palettes, and if you agree with me on what you would keep and what you wouldn't keep, or if you have different feelings on it. Tell me down below so we can, you know, like talk, because I'd be curious to see like what would you keep if you could only keep 10. But like I said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.